one of my good friends, Shamika, who I've met in first year of UBC Science. So yeah, Shamika, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So yeah, I we met, I believe, in a chemistry course in first year science. But yeah, so my name is Shamika. I'm currently in my last term of my microbiome and immunology degree at UBC, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for coming. So yeah, you did sciences at UBC. Do you want to kind of talk about in high school what courses you took, um, grade average, extracurriculars to get to UBC Science?
Right. So I went to a high school in North Delta called Seaquam, and I did the IB program for my grade 11 and 12 years. And grade average, the IB program didn't have percent grades, but I think they gave you a score instead. So the maximum I believe you can get was I think 45 or something like that. And the score I got was a 39. But when you apply to universities, they send projected grades. So the IB, there's two stages to it. You have courses that go on through the year, and there's only really two times where you get assessed. Once is when you have a practice exam, and the other time is when you have your actual exams. And during these exams, you get a grade from 1 to 7 that reflects how well you performed in that subject. And so my projected grades was a 40 and I got a 39. And it's with that I applied to UBC and got into science. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I teach a lot of people and tutor a lot of people who take like IB stuff. Would you say the program
Yeah.
is worth it?
Mm.
Workload wise,
Yeah, I
like,
think it's definitely, I feel it equipped me well for university, especially in terms of handling stress and being able to manage my time and lots of different commitments. During the IB program, it's not the most fun time always. Uh, it is sort of, as I said, a glimpse into university life. And with that being said, I definitely think it is worth it. Like if I could go back, I would still do the IB program. It's a journey. It'll make you a better person, I believe. But also, I think you should ask yourself if you have the capability to commit to something. If you think that you can actually go through with the program, it's a good idea.
yeah.
Because if not, it might be a bit too tough, or it might come across as being a bit too hard. But I definitely think it's worth it.
Mhm. Did you also have time to do like extracurriculars and for like personal profile stuff when you were doing that?
Yeah. So one thing with the IB program is that one of not courses, but one of the I guess classes you're supposed to take is focused on you volunteering and going out there and doing a lot of extracurricular stuff, and that really helped me fill out hours, sort of say. So
Okay, yeah, it just froze a little bit. Okay, yeah, I think it's good now.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll edit this.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, so do you want to talk a little bit about your degree at UBC, like microbiology and immunology? Like this
Yeah,
dude's
sure.
really smart.
Uh, so microbiome. Uh, what exactly do you want me to like talk about anything specific with microbiome or
Like your experience, kind of like what you studied, like what your coursework
right,
was like. Would you
right,
recommend it?
sure. So microbiome and immunology is when I applied for it, one of the main things that drew me to it was that it seemed like a mixture of things like molecular biology and the immunology aspect was interesting to me because it seemed like it would be involved with health related things such as viruses and diseases. And in terms of the program itself, it's not the most competitive science program, but it is a bit competitive to get into. There is a grade average that's required. I don't know that number off the top of my head, but so there is like a slight selection process for it. there is restricted number of spots for a lab that every microbiome student needs to take. And so students that go into microbiome are usually doing well in their courses. You don't have to be exceptional, just keep keep maintaining your grades. And the courses themselves are pretty interesting. The labs I really like. They give you hands-on experiences, and it feels really stress-free because um, it's the first time for a lot of us when we start off in our degree, working with the different equipment and the different strains of bacteria that we get to in the labs. And in my opinion, the program is really nice with the way profs and TAs will help guide you through different techniques and procedures. Because for me, the only comparison I have to it is the first year and second year chemistry labs that I took. And to me, the difference is like night and day. And I'm not saying anything bad about the chemistry department, but it's just that the pacing of the chem labs was there's quite a lot of pressure and it felt quite fast. Whereas with microbiome labs, I felt that I was learning at a comfortable pace, and if I made a mistake, it didn't feel like the end of the world. So that was really nice, and yeah, in terms of the general program and I guess the types of courses you can take, it's quite diverse. Some courses look into more of the biotech side. So you get a chance to learn about different applications with microbiology and that different companies might use. One of the courses I took looked at beer making and wine production and bread making, and that was interesting. And then also more biotech applications with converting energy. So that was definitely something that was that had a broader scope than a lot of the other classes I'd taken. And then you have a lot of virology, immunology courses. And then as you go up, you progress from third year to fourth year. There's seminar courses as well. And in these seminar courses, it's more of a discussion-based approach where you get to speak a lot more. You get to learn things more for the sake of learning them rather than going for grades. And I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds pretty interesting. Would you recommend microbiome? Like, I know the cutoff, I think, well, in our year, probably around 86, 85-ish, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there isn't a big difference between whether you do a microbiome degree or let's say well, I can't say exactly, but if you do a microbiome or a CAPS degree or something that's along those lines, you can still take a lot of the courses that are offered by the microbiome department. So I'd say if you're interested in microbiology, but you might not want to go all the way in, you're interested in other things, you can still explore it. There are plenty of electives that you can take from outside of the major. However, if microbiology and immunology sounds interesting, I think it's worth trying out. Just, I guess, be more sure of, or be sure to check what microbiology and immunology actually entails. So look at some of the courses that are offered by it. Make sure that this is actually something you will be interested in learning about, because a lot of times, microbiome and immunology, those are big words. Like they could mean a lot of things. Like immunology is big on its own. That covers like tons of things, right? Immunology could talk about disease pathogenesis. We could talk about viruses, bacteria, and courses can be really specific about certain things. So make sure you know what you're going into. Do your research. Look on the UBC academic calendar for UBC. And if you're interested, give it a shot. I think it's good to explore, especially if it's your second year and you're applying to your major. You can try out microbiome, and if it's not working, it's not the end of the world once again, because you will have a lot of prereqs for microbiome that you can use to get into other degrees if you need to, or other majors. And so switching isn't too difficult.
How would you study? Like, Shamika is like very intelligent. He's great. He's like A+ type of man. What are your like study skills and study advice that you would recommend for
Right.
people, all
Right.
like 15 of them that are listening?
Yeah. So studying is something that I think is really personal for different people. Some people have really specific learning styles. where they take lots of extensive notes in lecture and then they make flashcards after, and then it's the stuff really sticks that way. Other people, it's just more difficult to do that, and all of us tend to procrastinate and leave studying till the end because there's always other things you can do. For me personally, I found that paying attention in my lectures, being able to do so, whatever helps you do that, is the pathway you should take. So if that means that taking notes while being in a lecture keeps you on track, then go for it. But if you find yourself taking notes and you can't understand really what's being said, you're just like digesting information and it's just going through one ear on the other and it's on your book, then there's no real point because you had to read what your notes are later and you're wasting more time. So for me, I've gone through like different phases where I was extensively taking notes in like my first year, and then I shortened to bullet points. And now when sometimes it's seminar courses, I don't really take notes. I'm there to listen and absorb information. And then if I need more information, I can always refer back to the slides, which are usually posted online. Now that advice, it can't apply to every class. There are some classes where you should definitely take notes, especially if something it's like chemistry, if you're talking about biochemistry or organic chemistry, but there's lots of reaction mechanisms that you might need to draw or different pathways. Draw those out along with the prof. Don't zone out. But yeah, but for me personally, I found that it's more important to be present during the lecture and to just listen and listen attentively. And that's tough because I think personally that's taken a lot of time to develop because humans don't have a very large attention span. And so always bringing it back to the speaker and what the topic is can only be done if you're interested in what's being said and if the people around you are also not distracting. So yeah, that sort of worked for me. In terms of my time management, I've been doing a lot of to-do lists. So I found that blocking out time can be good in some cases, but also predicting how much time you need for a certain, whether it be an assignment or studying for something, is tough. So for me personally, I like it better when I can write the list of things that I want to do in the day, and then I have more freedom to work on some things at a certain pace, and then organize how I tackle another assignment or go back to something I've done before.
Yeah, for sure. When I was in taking those classes in like fourth year, third year, what worked for me was, yeah, like you said, being interested in the lecture and then sitting like really close to the front, right? So
Yeah.
me and Brody and Kia, we would all be in the first like row or two. We'd be pre-reading, asking questions to be engaged, and yeah, sitting with people who are similar goals, mindset, right? And then would you say you used a lot of Anki and Quizlet and all of that to learn?
So I didn't know what Anki was until I did my MCAT, which I guess we can talk about later. But so Anki, for those who may not be aware, for some reason, is like a flashcard software. It basically, its goal is spaced repetition. So it shows you different flashcards that you make at different lengths of time. So you'll see one card one day and then you won't see it for another 2 days based on how you feel you did when it came to remembering the material on that card. And so it was only until I did my MCAT that I realized that Anki existed. And so I used that for my MCAT, and then I implemented it into a lot of my courses that were more memorization heavy because I found that it was an effective way of remembering things that might be otherwise just hard to care about. It was a really good way of testing what I was retaining and what I was forgetting. So Anki was something I used. Quizlet, I have tried before, but personally, I prefer Anki more than Quizlet. But they both serve the same purpose, in my opinion. Whichever helps you remember little tiny points that are annoying to memorize, go for it.
Yeah, when you did those flashcards, would you write anything down, like on iPad or notebooks or whatever, or would you just kind of be like, "Oh, I got it," or
Yeah, so um, with the flashcards on Anki, some of them you can modify what the format of the card is like. So there's some where you can have a diagram and it'll have boxes covering different parts of it. And some boxes will be uh, like colored in so you can't see what's in there. And then you gotta try and remember what was hidden behind the box. And then you press reveal and it'll show you what was there. And so then you can see, oh, did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? So I haven't found the need to write things down while doing Anki personally or draw them. It could work, I guess, but I haven't done that. Yeah.
yeah. And would you also like um, Google for like practice tests and like
Mm,
questions and stuff like that in the book?
yeah. Doing practice tests is really important.
Yeah.
If the course doesn't offer a practice test, look for questions that might exist in your textbook or if there's some sort of even on Piazza, which is something that we use at UBC. There's lots of good student questions that people will post. Instructors will post questions. Yeah, just try and get as much practice in because memorizing something is different from being able to use it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for the Piazza, like in Bio 362, I think Brody probably told you about this, but like like out of like the 2000 something um things for the class, like 2200 or 2300, it was
Yeah.
just like the three of us were probably like 6 or 700 because there was a bonus.
Oh
So
yeah, he was telling me about that. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so yeah, we took it over.
You guys were top three though, right?
Yeah,
You
it
guys,
was
are
top
nice,
five.
nice.
Yeah. So funny. I
I
had like
remember. Yeah.
360 something contributions. Brody had 300. Kia had around 200 something. It's crazy.
That was crazy. No. And I remember like you guys would message each other too when someone posts something like yo, respond, respond.
Go, go, go.
Mm.
I'd be with friends or something, and I see the notification on my watch or something, and I gotta be like, all right, sorry guys, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
It's too funny. But yeah, that stuff works. Um,
That's
yeah, so with microbiome and stuff, like, would you say there's like good career opportunities just with the degree, or would you say this
mm,
is more like a stepping stone degree?
right. I
And
think for those who are looking into getting into academic labs or perhaps industry positions, the microbiome co-op program is really nice.
mhm,
And I think the co-op program plus the degree will get you a good job. Part of me is hoping that's the truth. Another part of me is pretty sure that it
mhm,
is the truth, because I've seen I had a lot of friends that had nice co-ops and then were offered, or their employees expressed a lot of interest for them returning in the future. And I know in general, a lot of people after they've done a microbiome degree, they'll be able to work in a lab because they'll have experience there before. It's actually quite interesting that a lot of people, whether or not they've been trying to find it or not, will end up with research experience outside of their courses just because of how the program is set up. And I know that, especially in first year, I felt a lot of pressure to get into a research lab because everyone was saying, research is important, getting that experience is what matters. But honestly, if you if you stick around long enough and
mhm,
if you just talk to a lot of people in general, you'll eventually either meet a professor or meet someone else who knows of an opportunity in the lab, and then there will be a way of you getting an exposure there. So yeah, I think there's plenty of opportunities for you to explore either a research lab or an industry lab if you do co-op. And with that, you can use that as a stepping stone or as a direct way of going to your final career.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's a good way too. And then what like Brody and I kind of did for research is just cold email. Like we did bio, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so cold email, brute
Yeah.
force. It
Yeah.
works. I sent I think 30 emails to people at iCord, researchers
Yeah.
that I was kind of interested in, just to, the classic like read up on couple of their papers or
Hmm.
just the little bit of what they're doing,
Yeah.
express like stuff about yourself, and that works for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about your research? Like,
Sure.
Shamika did some very cool cancer research. Like, he's, this man
Yeah.
is.
So, so that was so what Bob was talking about is what I did through the co-op program, and the co-op program itself for microbio. There's a lot of different postings that we get, and when I was applying for co-op jobs, it's tough because there's everyone else on your degrees applying to jobs as well. I saw one that said melanoma research assistant, and it was in Montreal, and that sounded really cool to me. One, for me being able to travel, and two, the subject, me working with skin cancer felt really meaningful. And so I applied, and I was fortunate enough to get accepted. And then I went to Montreal, and the co-op that I did there was for 8 months. And when I was there, it was in partnership with McGill. So it was a UBC co-op, but my position was under McGill's research trainee program, and I was in a place called the Lady Davis Institute for Research. And there I worked with a PhD student. Well, at the time he was a PhD student. He has since successfully defended, so he's a doctor. And so with him, we worked on a project that looked at ways of overcoming drug inhibition that was seen in some skin cancers. And this was nearing the end of a manuscript that they were working on. So I got the chance to come in and see how not only research was being done in terms of wet lab, but also how that translated into the writing of a paper. And by the time I was finished, I had done enough work to be considered as a fourth author on their manuscript.
Yeah.
And so I think it was, this last year, it's now 2024, but yeah, last year in, I think it was August, the paper was finally published after revision. And so it was because of the experience now I'm also an author on a paper, which was really awesome for me. And I felt really fortunate for that.
Yeah, like if you actually Google Shamika's name and like Google Scholar, he will be there. This man is published.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have you seen that research? Are you doing any other extracurriculars like at the moment or
Mm.
like
Yeah.
in med
So
school?
at the very present right now, the only extracurricular I'm doing outside of school is there's two. One is with the engineering design team at UBC called UBC Biomod. And so for those who don't know, the design teams at UBC are all engineering based, but they have different scopes. So there's things like UBC Rocket, UBC Concrete Canoe, and or concrete boat, sorry, and UBC Chem E-Car. So a lot of these are quite different. They have different, I guess, areas of specialties, and there aren't a lot of bio-related design teams. In fact, Biomod is, I think, one of the only ones that are there, and so our team focuses on looking at building structures out of biological molecules. So we look at DNA and yeah, I won't bore anyone too much with the details, but I'm currently the captain of UBC Biomon, and so I've been on the team since 2021, and I started as a member, and the work was really interesting for me, so I stuck around. And yeah, and apart from UBC Biomod, I'm also the science communicator for SEDS Canada, and this is more of a virtual thing because um, it's with students from across the country. And so SEDS is the Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. And this might seem kind of random compared to me doing microbiome stuff or bio stuff, but space has been really interesting for me ever since. I think for a lot of people ever since they were kids, the idea of being an astronaut has been pretty exciting. And so I just decided to join this organization based out of interest, and I have really liked what they've done. So yeah, if anyone wants to check these out, feel free. But yeah, that's mostly what I've been doing as of now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about MCAT? So like how you
Sure.
prepped. This man is a beast. Like he took this exam that's 8 hours. covering like physics, general chem, biochem, psych, soc, uh, and a lot more. At the end of second year, right? Like in summer,
Yeah, yeah,
and he was it like 94th, 93rd percentile, something like that?
yeah. I think it was, yeah, 93rd, 94th core percentile. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, as Bhavin said, the MCAT, it has those different subjects, and uh, it's basically what a lot of people learned in their high school, plus the first and a bit of the second year of uni. Uh, and and yeah, so in terms of, I guess, my experience with the MCAT, I studied for it for, I'd say, a maximum of 4 hours a day. It was more like 2 to 3, and I did this for 2 months. Yeah, it was 2 months. And yeah, then I wrote the exam. Um, what else can I talk about it?
How'd
Is
you
there
study
anything
for it?
specific?
What'd you do? Did you do like UWorld, AMC
Mm,
questions? Did you do
yeah,
the books, content reviews?
right. Yeah. Yeah. So the way I approached my studying for the MCAT was I first looked for a schedule online. So I guess part of it is laziness, and another part of it is convenience. I didn't want to try and plan out how I could make a schedule. I looked online for schedules that existed for a 2 to 3 month time frame, and I took that. I basically copied and pasted it, and then switched some things around. So the resource I used for making my schedule or finding it was called Shamason Learning. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they have a bunch of templates for MCAT schedules. So I used one of those. And for in terms of books, I used the Kaplan MCAT books. I don't think it matters too much what company you use, as long as you pick one company and then you use it. There's no point in reading a bunch of different textbooks if they're all covering the same thing. So I read the Kaplan books. I actually, over the winter break, so this was, I think, 4 months before I started studying, I tried to read through the books casually without trying to learn anything, just to get a sense of what would be in store for me when I actually started doing content review. And then after when summer came along, which is when I started studying, I did content review for a month, and through that month, I did one actual test or one practice test as a diagnostic to see how much I actually knew. And I also implemented a lot of questions through that. I didn't buy UWorld. I used the trial for UWorld. I think they give you a free, I don't know the exact number, but they give you a free amount of questions. It's not a large amount, but it's say 20 to 100 questions. So I did that. And I also mostly focused on the questions that were in the Kaplan books. For cars, I used a website called Jack Weston. They have a lot of different cars passages, and actually a lot of different passages for all the subjects. And that was, I found, really useful for me to practice things. And then after my content review, it was more me doing exams, seeing what I was lacking in certain areas, and then trying to learn that content and seeing how I did after.
Damn, you make it sound so like
Yeah.
systematic and like clean. Like 4 hours a
Yeah.
day. Like versus, yeah, that's insane, man. Yeah. All right, so that's MCAT, and then yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
first.
with that too, like, I
Mm,
think it's really important to leave time to do things that aren't studying.
mm,
So, because I know a lot of people, the MCAT's really intimidating, and it might work
mm-hmm.
for them, but they might dedicate, I don't know, 8 hours a day and just do 8 hours a day for 2 months. And to me, that sounds like it would drive me crazy. Like, it sounds like if it works for someone, that's great. But if you haven't tried that before, try and pick something that's more comfortable for you, or like up your like study aisle, so to speak, something that you'd be able to do consistently, and leave weekends out sometimes to have fun. Go do things with your friends, because this is most likely going to be during your summertime. And it sucks when you're inside and it's a beautiful day outside and all your friends are either at the beach or whatever. Like, yes, you're a focused student, but also you're a human. So leave some time for you to have fun. That way you'll learn things better too.
Damn, yeah. No, I was in the grind phase, like university and stuff. Like it was like, all right, guys, let's narrow in. Let's
Yeah,
save the fun for winter break.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And then MCAT, I'm guessing you also just did the Anki, the questions
yeah,
from the Jack
yeah,
lesson, the books you
yeah,
had. Yeah, okay.
exactly.
That makes sense. No, that's insane. Like first time, second year. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, do you want to talk a little bit about like moving forward? Like, are you looking forward to graduation and the med
Yeah,
school
for sure.
pathway?
I think, yeah, I'm definitely excited to graduate. I can't really believe it's been, my university degree is gone. It feels like it was just gone in a flash. But
Mhm.
in terms of moving forward, I am looking to go into medical school, which is why I did do the MCAT. And so I'm in the application process right now. And so hopefully by uh, by this coming August, I will either be in medical school, fingers
Knocks on
crossed,
wood. Yeah.
or we'll be looking to apply again. But we're gonna make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. No, I completely believe that you're gonna get in, man.
Yeah,
You got this.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Are you into? What are some of your like other hobbies or things that you also kind of do when you're not
yeah.
doing all of this research, studying, or volunteering? Oh, are you also doing
Yeah.
any like hospital related things or any
Mm,
anything like
yeah.
that?
So yeah, I volunteered a bit for BC Children's, and I was mostly there as a gift shop volunteer, but then I transferred more to after COVID happened, that had went on a bit of a temporary break. So I returned under Vancouver Coastal Health, where I was a ready response volunteer. And
Mm-hmm.
so these volunteers are just based on where certain communities might need needs. So, like during the vaccination process for COVID, I'd volunteer sometimes at different centers just to help guide people, fill out forms, and things like that. And they also, I wasn't volunteering, but they also have positions at the emergency department. If you stick around for long enough, you can try those out. And a lot of my hours with volunteering actually came from a thrift store that was a auxiliary thrift store for BC children's and women's, and that I found really nice to manage because it was once a week, and I think it was what 2 to 4 hours a week, and it was really relaxing too, and it felt meaningful being able to get donations that go directly to a hospital. And apart from that, the other health related volunteer experience that I've had is with the Vancouver Virology Center or Vancouver Virology Society. And this organization, they basically did free HIV and hepatitis C testing, on the spot testing in downtown. And this was targeted more towards either people who were suffering from either homelessness or who had a lower income and who are therefore at higher risk of contracting these diseases. And that was really meaningful for me because I think it was one of my earliest exposures to the real world in terms of the applications of medicine. I got to interact with a lot of different individuals, learn a lot about their lives, and then being able to test and then see them. It changed their lives was a big deal. Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's really cool. It
yeah,
sounds interesting too. I think that like a big theme you're kind of saying for like a lesson, if you're like interested in stuff, is kind of get into something like cold email, ask
yeah,
around, and then stay there, right? Don't just kind of
yeah,
like wait for a bit, try to see the opportunities that come up. Just by like showing
yeah,
up, you're already ahead of the game, right?
yeah. And especially if now I can't know this because I'm not on an admissions committee, but I think medical schools they value commitment
Mm-hmm.
more than quantity. So if you can show that you have, let's say, 4 experiences where you've done for 2 or 3 years and you have a lot of hours, that looks really good because that shows them, that shows anyone honestly that you think it's important and you contribute a lot, and you're clearly interested in it, right? It's not just something you did just for the application, or it's not something you did just to say I volunteered. It's something that you found was personally interesting and pursued.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other pieces of advice for anybody going to applying for UBC or interested in med school or
Yeah. If you're applying to UBC, I guess as a high school student, uh, do your best in your classes and don't stress too much. Getting in, even if you don't happen to get into UBC right away, there's lots of different ways you can either transfer into UBC. In some cases, UBC doesn't even have to be your goal. There are plenty of other great institutions here, and UBC is just one name. At the end of the day, whatever helps you get the degree that you're interested in or get you down towards a path that you have in mind. I think having a goal is important, even if you feel like you may not know if that goal is what you want to actually do. Like if your career choice when you're in grade 12 isn't something that you're 100% sure on, I'd say it's better to have a target and try to go towards it rather than have nothing and then sort of waste a lot of time or spend a lot of time exploring a lot of different avenues without really ending up somewhere. And exploring is really great, but always try and have something that you can be like, okay, this will get me a bit closer to this goal, and it will show me whether I want to do it more or not. And I think keeping that it's almost single-mindedness, but the way I view it is a way of keeping you on track.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to know that 10 years from now you're a better person than you were 10 years from before? There's got to be like some things in you, qualities in you that you've grown, and if you can advance through a degree and if you have something to show for it, that's also great. So yeah, and don't stress it. Just allow things to happen as they happen. It's sometimes a lot of it will be luck, but it will be luck based on the opportunities you're opening yourself up for. So sometimes it's just about being at the right place at the right time, but you will never have that lucky opportunity if you don't even bother trying to look for things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the harder you work, the luckier you get, kind of quote, right?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. It's not even it's not like the harder you work, the more things you'll get. It's
Yeah.
like the more chances you'll get, and one of them might be really great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just need one yes, right? That's what I kind of realized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you do for self-care? Like, how do you stay well and stay mentally well? Because this is all like,
Yeah.
yeah, I talk about this on my like TikTok and stuff where it's like,
Yeah.
do mindfulness. So I have like a whole app
Yeah.
like on my phone called Smiling Mind. It's got a bunch of like
Nice.
meditations and everything. So
Yeah.
that's good. Walks, like
Yeah.
going to the gym and like
Yeah.
nature and stuff like that are kind of
Yeah.
like the common tips. And I
Yeah.
do like the kids helpful and like crisis response. So like
Yeah.
almost every caller is like anxiety, depression, stress.
Yeah.
So what would you advise for staying well?
Yeah. I mean, it sort of goes without saying, but have a social network. It doesn't have to be a lot. Have at least, 1 to 2 people that you can depend on and that you feel comfortable just talking with, doing things with. It's really nice to have people that you can turn to when you might be feeling down, or that I don't know, a test got you upset. Someone you can vent to and just prevent things from bottling up. And so I found the people I met like Bhavin, just amazing to have around. Do fun things. Always try it and leave room for fun. Don't forget, growing up doesn't mean you don't have to stop having fun. And apart from that, what you said, I think was really important too. For me personally, going on walks and especially going for runs used to be really important when things were really stressful for me. Running, like going on a run around my block, or like a park that was nearby, gave space for me to clear my head. And having a routine with that is nice too, especially if it's going to the gym. because it provides some structure to your day and it gives you a sense of control, which is nice in some cases. And yeah, just, always at the end of the day, no matter what happens, you got to be sure that you will always be your strongest, ally, your strongest supporter.
Yeah.
You can't, like, no matter how much you might think badly of yourself, you got to remember that you got to always watch out for you,
Yeah.
make sure that you're doing okay, that your headspace is good, and don't beat yourself up too much over things.
Yeah. I also do the writing things down is also very useful.
Uh,
Clearing your
yeah,
mind, getting
yeah,
everything on a paper, and then
yeah,
like creating action steps. So like what you can actually
yes,
do to fix the thing or like practically do. And even like reminders, like you've overcome all those other bad things, so
yeah,
you can get through this. Yeah, but no, I think that's
exactly.
very good. Any other things you want to talk about, or
Hmm.
you kind of cover everything?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there is anything. Is there anything else, I guess, that
Do you
would
have
be
any
relevant for you?
book recommendations or
All right.
podcasts or
Yeah. So reading books has been kind of tough. It gets a bit
yeah,
tough when you get into university
yeah,
because you have a lot of things that you're supposed to read that's not for leisure, for
yes,
courses. Uh, I have found personally that I really enjoy reading fiction.
mm,
So I know there's a lot of and I've read them too. There's a lot of great nonfiction books, a lot of great self-improvement books.
that's all I
But
heard.
sometimes, and sometimes, those are great too if you feel like you need either inspiration from someone or you want to learn something. That's amazing. I remember I read once a book for history. It was called Why Nations Fall, The
Mm.
Rise and Fall of Civilizations, or something like that. And it was a really long book, but I read it during the summer on my commutes
Mm-hmm.
to UBC for work. And it was completely out of my field of knowledge, which is why I found it really interesting. And that was a way for me to learn more too. I felt like I was being productive. But back to what I was saying before about the fiction, to me, it's provided a sort of vacation almost because you read a fiction book, whether that be something that you read during high school, like a novel such I don't know, even if you read Percy Jackson and the Olympians, like yes, that is technically not a complicated book, but it would provide you with a lot of joy. Honestly, it's great to use your imagination, and I've been not recently, but I think over at the start of last year, I read a bunch of sci-fi books. Um, I can I can list those, I guess, but nothing nothing that was definitely grounded in reality.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nice way for me to escape at times and at the same time also use my brain because
Mm-hmm.
like it or not, reading does help. It helps your vocabulary. It'll help you be creative too in the way you approach things.
Yeah. And cars on the MCAT.
Yeah, yeah, and
Different
cars.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you again for
yeah.
coming on. Yeah, very appreciative of your time, and I hope some of the viewers find some value in this. So I'm going to stop the recording.
Awesome.
Just a sec.